government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Phyllis Schalfly, founder of the Eagle Forum, has been on the cutting edge of warning the globalists plan to implode our borders and open up our sovereignty to the rest of the world, particularly Latin America, will be joining us again in the second hour. Today, I say again because she was on a month ago or so. We said that we would have her back on the eve of Obama's promised executive action that the Republicans are already caving on. That's what Senator Sessions is saying, and that is what Boehner is announcing. Oh, we don't want a government shutdown. We promised that. Remember when they had their, quote, landslide a few weeks ago? The biggest political realignment in over 100 years in this country. They said two things. Boehner and McConnell sent the signal that night and then that morning. That Tuesday night and that Wednesday morning. They both said that we're not going to repeal Obamacare and that we can't repeal Obamacare to take wind out of the sails. And they went on to say, and we're not going to shut the government down over immigration reform, which is really just the end of the country, merging us into the North American Union. Constitutional crisis should be the headline across the country. The end of the United States, the birth of the North American Third World Union. Those aren't talking points. That's reality. Only in the mainline libertarian conservative movement, Krauthammer, Paul, a handful of others are saying this is treasonous, this is illegal, impeach, cut off funding. Senator Sessions is saying the same thing. Walter Jones is saying it. But, I mean, that is a handful. This is outrageous. And it's being done. And Mexico and Guatemala are thanking Obama, who arrogantly last week said, hey, don't heckle me, protesters, you know, from Mexico that want. I mean, there's never going to be enough. I already changed the law. See, before he even did an executive order, Obama said, I changed the law. Back in January, the Border Patrol told us, and it even took InfoWars 5 months to get up off our big fat butts. I'm talking about me. We have our ICE and Border Patrol contacts, and they go, listen, come down to this area. We're ordered to just let them in. That's all we can tell you. Just come down to McAllen, come down to Brownsville, come down to these points, and you're going to see something. Because they can't even tell you, or they're going to violate their, you know, quote, orders. They can just say, you might want to come look here. Well, we finally went down there, and there were the buses coming across every hour, being loaded onto U.S. buses with the Border Patrol fencing the money through the local emergency managers, who we interviewed, to give them the federal vouchers to go anywhere they wanted. Men, women, children, you name it. And to take them to Baptist, Catholic, you name it, churches as staging grounds for 3 hots and a cut. I mean, this is a planned program. As one senior Border Patrol agent said, we can't tell you what the orders are because we've been ordered not to, but the Border Patrol now completes the smuggling process. Do you understand? This is the full-on conquering takedown of the Republic. And Obama wouldn't be pulling something this ultra bold, if he didn't have backing by the big banks and by the Chamber of Commerce and by the Republican blue blood leadership. And now you're seeing it right in your face. And by the way, when they're done opening the border up and they think they've got a veto vote on the American people, they're going to start the bail-ins and start taking money out of your bank accounts. They're going to federalize your pension funds and take part of it, one piece at a time. Every death panels, whole 9 yards. You want to live in the gutter? You want to be bankrupted by design? You want to be looted? Baby, you got it. You want it, you got it. I'm not talking to my listeners. I'm talking to all the new people that tune in off of our 180-something affiliates. I mean, you want it? You're going to get it. That's right. You're globalist. You like to conquer countries through financial fraud. But you can't get the House and Senate and the states to do exactly what you want. Well, just change the law by executive fiat and claim that it's within your authority. But then when legal scholars across the board point out it's illegal, say, well, I didn't really mean I changed the law when I said that. Just like he didn't mean it when he said, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. First he said, I never said that. And then they found over 100 instances of him saying it. in speeches, so he meant, well, I didn't mean you could keep your doctor. But first he said, I never said that. Then he said, well, I didn't mean that. By the way, Hillary Clinton went to give a speech, and the hall was half empty. And she's still the front runner for the Democrats and is set to announce very soon. There's reports out on that today, and people say, well, there's no way she'll get elected. She's incredibly unpopular. Well, they run the Democratic Party mafia, and they're tied into the blue blood Republican neocon Bush mafia. And so expect her to be in the running. And even though the public is leaning towards electing a Republican, it won't matter if it's a Chris Christie, open borders, anti-gun type person. In fact, Hillary might even be better because at least she's universally reviled in libertarian and conservative circles, so it wouldn't take long to organize a defense against her. That's why I don't think they're going to put Hillary in 2016. They're going to put forward a neocon, rhino piece of garbage. And we're seeing those traitors in action right now. The magnitude of what's happening should not be lost on anyone. Obama, through executive secret actions in January, ordered the Border Patrol to basically let anybody and everybody in and to give them vouchers to bus illegals into Democratic Party-held areas to be kept at government buildings, public school facilities, and churches, and then to be distributed upwards of $2,000+ a month per illegal that Democratic Party operatives house in their homes in groups of 3 between $6,000 and $8,000 cash. Billions being spent a month. What's your job if you're a Democrat? You house 3 illegals. You help them get a house, the banks help them, they become an anchor point, then they bring in the next wave. And they're cult-like followers of the Democratic Party. Pretty close to game over. And game over means the big mega banks, Google and others that lobby to take your guns, that lobby to raise your taxes, and that lobby to pay zero tax, they're going to break us and break us hard. And that's what Homeland Security's for. Make no mistake. So you want to get broken? Get ready. This is the conquering of what's left of the American Republic. And I'm getting chills this whole morning as it really comes home that it's really happening. And I had some pathetic inkling, some pathetic wisp of a hope, of a dream, that the Tea Party revolution would have scared the Blue Bloods, Boehner and others, into doing the right thing and at least putting a tourniquet on the country's leg that's chopped off and mangled. Instead, they're going over with a hacksaw to cut the other one off and untying the tourniquet, to put us into a giant third world North American Union where we have absolutely no rights. In the North American Union documents that we've read on air, that I cover in my film Endgame, they state that they will use open borders to bring in the North American Union and to defeat any political opposition to the one world government, global governance agenda. And a lot of yuppies and hippies and people that just comply with everything don't understand that the season of fattening us up is about to be over. The season of all the fiat money and the rest of it is about to be over. That was anesthesia while they basically chopped us up. But now our arms and legs are gone. They're about to take the anesthesia off and finish us. You understand that, folks? This is so real. This is so planned. This is so totalitarian. It's wicked. And they spin it by calling it immigration reform. And as I've said, you can throw your dog, if you want, into a wood chipper and call it reform, but it's really chopping it up in little pieces. You could go jump in a big wood chipper and tell everybody, hey, I'm about to reform myself, as if that's a good word. This is the mind games they play. The discrimination of giving illegals in-state tuition, giving them free babies to be born, anchor babies, giving them free basically everything. When citizens don't get that on average, and when people that try to come here legally and lawfully have to jump through a bunch of hoops, it's despicable. And then to make it a racial issue, if you don't accept whatever the system says, but the public rebels against that, even a majority of Hispanics in major polls that are U.S. citizens don't want open borders. They're not stupid. Folks that came here from the third world don't want us to be third world. That's why they left it. But now they are hand-picking out of Central America because Mexico tends to be more libertarian and more conservative in the voting patterns. Guatemala, Nicaragua, and El Salvador, baby, they wear red caps, and they give the communist salute, Che Guevara. Doesn't matter if Che Guevara called natives every racist name in the book. Do you know how racist Latin America is with the white-skinned ruling class that looks like Vicente Fox? Looks like Che Guevara. You know what happens in Mexico if you look like Che Guevara? The women just run at you. Just boom. That's who they want to breed with. It's total racism, ladies and gentlemen. Che Guevara wrote books calling Mexicans and everybody else cockroaches and things. But they love him. See how that works, ladies and gentlemen? See, I happen to be informed. I happen to know how all this works. I happen to know the real dynamics of the anthropology, the sociology, the economics of these areas. I've been there. I've studied it. I know. And then they sit here using the Christian abolitionist idea, mutating it into a Democratic Party white guilt, to make that the only issue to tie their gun control to tie their open borders to tie their executive action to create division in the nation so that the general public, guilty whites and minorities, bleeding heart, self-hating whites, will do whatever they're told so that the magic wand of political correctness can be waved above their head and be told, you are correct. You are part of the good group. You are absolved of your sin, my son. That's what all this diversity training and the rest of it is go and confess your classism, confess your racism, confess you're bad. It's a giant re-education camp. Every day articles come across my desk in elementary schools where they're teaching them that white people are inherently bad and evil and, you know, poor Trayvon and the rest of it. And the point is this is all done so that you're not educated on reading, writing, and arithmetic, or how to do business, or how to grow a garden, or how to be polite, or how to have good hygiene, how to be successful, how to get an apprenticeship, how to learn to be successful and self-sufficient. It's to give the children total mental illness complexes about what color they are. When the truth is, it doesn't matter what color you are. If you've got good values and work hard and have ideas, you will be successful because companies and businesses and institutions and societies want to be around trustworthy people. It's hard to find them. All these idiots, it's not just minorities, it's white people, it's everybody. The dishonorableness out there, people thinking being liars is good, thinking cheating is good, thinking manipulating is winning. Well, in a society of scum, there is no honor. But in the real society that's still left in this country, and it's in middle-class neighborhoods and working-class neighborhoods and black neighborhoods and white neighborhoods and in churches, it's everywhere out there. And there's that society of honor versus the society of scams and fraud. And we are seeing the literal gutting of this republic into the North American Union right now. If you think NAFTA and GATT were great, you're going to love it. If you thought QE3 was great to devalue your earning power, get ready, it's going to get a lot worse. This is the globalist management tool, so they can sit back in their gated communities and their armored fortresses and fly back and forth from their high-rises on helicopters, jetcopters, with armed guards like Bloomberg, who flies his own jetcopter that costs like $80 million or something, while you live down here on the ground fighting with each other, black, white, Hispanic, like a bunch of morons, while the social engineers sit there laughing all the way to the bank. This is not my opinion. It's a fact. Senator Sessions, House GOP is on the verge of breaking 2014 campaign promises. We're going to read that article when we come back. Conservatives scoff at Boehner deal. It's not a deal. The Republicans, Bush had the same amnesty plan where they legalized felons. Senator Sessions exposed that 7 years ago. House Republicans ready, plan to avoid government shutdown. New York Times, see? Meanwhile, Obama is now backtracking off saying he changed the law. Gutierrez presses millions to get documents ready for legal status. See, the Democratic Party is making this racial and a racial reconquista. And they're panicking to keep their world government expanding or the bubble will implode by simply trying to end national sovereignty by creating a Tower of Babel or Babel, hence the word babbling, where you don't understand someone, from the story of the Tower of Babel, where a whole bunch of cultures got together and couldn't communicate and everything broke down in infighting. That's the globalist plan, so there's no nation or no group or no ideology that stands against them. It's just a creeping global corporate structure to conquer the planet. Just like the speech in Network, where he explains there are no countries, there are no peoples, there's only stock. Well, the problem is we are a commodity in this, and a commodity of very low value, in fact, negative value in many of the globalist actuaries, and they want to bring in a planetary government to dominate and control us. Many opportunists say, well, I'll just work with the system. I know it's corrupt, but what are you going to do? Do you understand? It's a system meant to dumb us down, shackle us, control us, and then forcibly inoculate us, soft kill us. That's a fact. And I will not just sit here and play along with the system and join it and hope that I'm in the 10% they allow to live, or my children are, whenever they decide to drop the hammer and release the bioweapons. The hard kill weapons, not the creeping death soft kill. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, fighting these people 20 years. I had been on air a year and a half when the Democratic Party contacted me, high-level people in Texas, and said, you better get on board with us or we're going to come after you. That's why they're successful. They're watching talent. They're watching up-and-comers because they know, just like scouts go and watch people play baseball so they can, recruit them out of college or football, it's the same deal. And they got very threatening when I wouldn't play ball with them. And then I got offers for syndication. All sorts of offers, all sorts of deals. But it was always the same speech. Join with it. Globalism is good. Yeah, it's a world government, but it wants to help people and redistribute. This was from conservatives, supposedly. Do you want to be on this crusade that's going nowhere? Or do you want to be a star? I was told that by at least 6 different people, the same line. I'm not signing on to a plan where they put cancer viruses in basically everybody's vaccines except the elite that know about it. I'm here warning everybody. And you ignore my warnings at your peril, folks, because I'm telling you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Now, does that mean I get things wrong? Does it mean I make mistakes? Yes. But in general focus and terms, I'm dead on. And I know what I'm saying is scary, but it'd be a lot scarier not knowing it. Aren't you glad you know it? I mean, listen to Obama saying, hey, I changed the law. Leave me alone, to the hecklers. But they're there to make it look like Obama hadn't really done anything, to give him left cover. But he's sick of the hecklers, so he tells them, shut up, I gave you what you want. I don't even know if Obama is sophisticated enough to know these Soros groups that are doing this are giving him cover. Let's go to the clip.
What you're not paying attention to is the fact that I just took an action to change the law. Now, so that's point number one.
And listen, he admits what he's just done. Now he has this new press secretary who looks like he's 14 years old, but he's trendy and catty and just like all the other sellouts. He acts the whole mannerism of elitism. They're sophists. They're not real people. They're not real men. They're frauds. This little sophist gets up and says he didn't really mean it. It was colloquial.
At one point, he said, I just took action to change the law. Did the president misspeak in a moment of passion to try to calm the crowd? Or does he fundamentally, and do you fundamentally believe that he has taken action to change?
Listen to him, giving him cover.
I think he was speaking colloquially. That what he has put in place, meaning that obviously, meaning that that it's the responsibility of the United States Congress to pass laws, and it's the responsibility of the executive branch to implement and enforce them.
This is them trying to rewrite history.
My point is,
that's enough. Get him off. I'm gonna throw up. Look at that guy. Talk about a traitor. Talk about somebody that needs to be brought to justice. Every stinking one of those cowards is anathema to everything that's decent. And they're just so smug about it, shoveling their bull. You're real lucky you brain damaged people with the fluoride. You didn't get all of us, you little turd. Everything we're seeing is the political takeover of the United States. And for all its problems, the U.S. has been an example of economic and cultural freedom and has been a light to the world. But by the 1960s, really corrupt interest began to fully dominate the D.C. machine and the U.S. empire. And now the U.S. empire is being folded into the European Union empire, the Asia-Pacific empire, that is controlled by a handful, well, 5 large banks. It was 6. Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, a consortium of EU, British banks that form into one, combine the City of London, Frankfurt, Geneva, Tel Aviv, New York. And these combines run the drugs, launder the money, run almost all organized crime, use the police to enforce on the ground the low-level crime. Zbigniew Brzezinski's written 5 books that I've read where he openly admits all this. That's why when I was a kid, my dad would explain, I just read this book by Zbigniew Brzezinski, The Technotronic Age. In this book, son, and you know, he works for the president, Jimmy Carter. This is when I'm like 5 years old. And admits that the government controls organized crime. And that the government's controlled by a combine of large banks. I was like 4 years old, 5 years old being told this. And then a decade later, I read the book. That's what's so frustrating is they all write books saying what they're doing. You read books Brzezinski wrote in the 70s and 80s, and it all came true. They're running it. They plan to bring in a world government and to make almost everybody incredibly poor and then social engineer us through Agenda 21 to tell us how to wipe our butts. For real. How to raise our children, how to do everything. There's never been slavery like this even thought up. Now it's manifesting, and that's okay because blacks and whites need to kill each other with hammers. That's okay. The NFL's on tonight. That's okay. Family Guy's coming up. And listen, nothing against the NFL or Family Guy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a reality check. The president gets up there and says, I changed the law to legalize you. Then his press secretary comes out and says, he didn't really mean that. Well, it doesn't matter. That's what they're doing. And here's the big news. The Republican leadership, Mitch McConnell in the Senate, John Boner Boehner, are raping the Constitution, Bill of Rights, common sense, due process, and discriminating against American taxpayers who are going to fit the bill now for tens upon tens of millions more people. And now we're not just getting some of the hardworking people out of Mexico. I mean, there are people wearing 6X underwear. They had about 40-something thousand pairs of them. People are showing up in buses and planes, ready for dialysis, ready for their hearts. It's all meant to bankrupt the system. As Ezekiel Emanuel said on Fox News, we're going to bankrupt it, you bet. After the law passed, you bet the plan was to bankrupt it, and you bet there's death panels, and you're not going to get medical treatment after 75, period. And Bill Gates came out and said, yeah, it's a death panel. We got that law passed, and the Republicans aren't going to repeal a dime of it. And the Republicans are going to stand by and let the president become a dictator because it's the office they want to be dictatorial so they can pass the buck into the future and have an imperial presidency, which all declining countries end up going from representative government to a mob rule that then demands a Caesar, a king, a Führer, a leader. Ein Volk, ein Reich, ein Führer. One collectivist, welfare, dumbed down, fluoride head, flu shot public. Ein Volk. One North American Union merged lawlessly under banker control. Ein Reich. And then one leader, finally, over the whole world. Ein Führer. And this Führer is a eugenics king with all the genetic engineering and all the plagues of the earth poured out like revelation. A poison cup is now falling. Slow motion. Will it hit the table in a year, 10 years, 20 years? The truth is the cup already hit the table, and now the bile, the stinking, festering evil is just now beginning to fly out of the cup, and the first drop is hitting. And your wars are starting all over the planet, and disease is spreading all over the planet, and families are breaking down everywhere, and mental illness is just rampantly exploding. And the public is in a trance in the West, disassociating themselves with reality, playing on their iPads and staring into diversions and distractions. As the system sells the idea of believe whatever you want. Believe whatever reality you want. You are whoever you want to be. Become a mentally ill, narcissistic person. Join with the system. Just decide you're a winner by choosing to go along. Manifest whatever you want by just believing it. That isn't how things work. You have to manifest in your mind something good you want to build, and then it has to be attainable, and you have to go for it. And then you have a shot at it. Be it good or evil. I think of trying to do something good. I'm an example of the American dream, this whole media operation. But it didn't come out of some magic cookbook. It didn't come out of The Secret. It came out of study and facing reality and facing the nightmares so that I could save what was good for myself and my family and hopefully save it for you, and you can save it for me because we're all in this together. Instead, we have these larcenous, wicked, evil globalists who would pass Obamacare that raises taxes on the poorest people, that cuts their hours, and that destroys the future of their health care and gets rid of real charity care and gets rid of the Hippocratic oath of Hippocrates and creates death panels that they're now using in the VA. You think, oh, but it's the minorities against the whites and the police. Oh, yeah. And then people actually start forming up into those ranks. But that is only one level of the manifestation. Above it, outside the box, the globalists are manipulating the whole show. And the minute you pull out of that box, you won't have my view. You'll have a different perspective, different life experiences, different view. But it'll be a very similar thing you see to what I'm seeing. It's like viewing the Grand Canyon from one side or the other, or one end to the other. It's still the Grand Canyon. I'm not in a cave down on the bottom of the Grand Canyon looking at cave bugs, thinking that's the whole universe. I'm outside, up on the rim, looking down. And by the way, there's not just a canyon. There's a plain all around me, and there's stars at night. And a big raven sitting in the tree. See, I want you to come out of the cave. Come out of the cave. There's a whole nother universe out here. And then you'll notice that's just another box. And then above that, another box. And I want my progeny, whether it be the next generation or 20 down the road, to be 100 boxes past me. I love them. I love you. I love your children. Your children, if we can stop the globalists, are going to merge with my children. Look at the blessings of God, how heavy that is. And they're going to travel space and the dimensions together. They're going to become something we can't even imagine if we can stop evil, wicked, anti-human globalists from vandalizing this treasure that we live on. And notice everything they do. They're going to save the environment by taking our rights away. They're the ones destroying it. They're going to fight racism. They're the ones pushing it constantly. You want to end racism, just everybody go to a barbecue together. But see, you can't do that because they've put out gangster thugism into the cultures so that everybody's scared. It's so easy to do evil, folks. It's hard to do good, but when you do good, it's 1,000,000 times better. And then it grows on its own. The truth doesn't have to yell and scream. It's just there, and the people want it. And it's strong, and it's deep, and it's pure. My job is to get people out of their coma so they can see the prima facie on its face, out in the open, hidden in plain view, hiding in plain sight, veritas, the Latin word for truth. Seek the truth, live the truth, love the truth, and it is everything. It's the knowledge of good, the knowledge of scams and of fraud and of mental illness and delusion and of imagining you're something you're not and being a fraud is the knowledge of evil. Humans are fallen. We know the knowledge of evil. But evil seeks to make us not even remember that we have the knowledge of good. We must rediscover the knowledge of good. We must reach out to that knowledge. And there is a place in us ready to be filled by it, ready to animate you, ready to turn you loose, ready to make you the woman or the man you were forged in your mother's womb to be. And in a world full of those people, there's not much room for evil. Evil wants to rule and control and dominate and pull down the things that are beautiful because it's ugly inside. And it uses our compassion and our love and manipulates good men and women into accepting, turning our guns in so criminals won't kill people. How ridiculous is that good people should lay down their guns so the robbers won't get us or the tyrants won't get us? Lay down your arms and I'll come in and be nice. Just give us the gas. We spare your lives, to quote the Road Warrior. Sounds like a good deal. He wants to bargain with us. He wants to be reasonable. No, Humongous is a psychopathic killer. He's going to rape and kill you. Well, why? Why have we given him the gas? Why have we... I'm going out there. Because Humongous is bad, to use that allegory. That's why. Don't you get it? So we're now here at the crossroads of total North American union. And you notice the globalists are starting wars with Russia. They're starting stuff with China. Not that Russia or China are good. It's just the globalists are the ones moving this ball. Google AI is obviously online, and they're putting in their physical takeover grids all over the country and the world. We're here. Everybody's got front row seats to the most amazing time in human history. Pizza Hut, now when you go in with a face scanning iPad, I remember about 12 years ago going down to the UT psychology department. I was led into the, let's just say, restricted DARPA areas. Not anything too restricted, but it did say restricted. And it was all about how they were going to track your eyes and then pre-order what you were going to get. People thought I was crazy. It was to predict the future. That's now in place nationwide. Walmart, Target, it's already got it. They just haven't announced it to you yet. Pizza Hut is the first, and it will, of course, it's really a lie because it'll get so lazy, I don't even have to look anymore. It knows what I want. Just like Google gives you the searches you want, putting you in your own compartment. Just like Amazon announced a year ago. And when I first announced this, people didn't believe me, even though it was in the New York Times, that they, with a 99.9% accuracy, know what you're going to order on Amazon if you're a frequent shopper there before you do it, off of how your mouse moves over things and what you do. See, that's beyond just surveilling you and two eyeballs looking at you. But you're not designing your biology to worry about a computer screen or a camera. If you saw a guy's eyes looking through your window, you'd probably get a gun and run out and go after him, because how dare that person come in your backyard and look through your window at night while you're sitting around with your family around that turkey. But when it's all just fiber optic, run by DARPA, but so it doesn't threaten everybody, we'll call it Google. And we'll have movies about the Google interns and how fun everything is and how it's all cute and cuddly, kind of like the press secretaries or the little cheeky, trendy, non-threatening guys that make the reporters who are egomaniacs feel powerful so they won't challenge him too much because he's weak. All of it, psych warfare, top people with 200 IQs came up with every bit of it. And idiots like the new press secretary don't even know. Obama doesn't even know. He wants to watch Sports Center, use drugs, have sex, and play golf. He's a front. But I've got to destroy him politically because he is on the front of the ship. He's the goddess they've got out there on the Capitol. He's the front. He's the figurehead. He's the signet. He's the logo. I'm going to go to break, come back, and get into the other news. Before I go any further, there's so much I'm also going to get into. Phyllis Schalfly is joining us. We got Ukrainian reports of accident nuclear power plant. NATO and Russia move closer to war. CDC, more than 1,400 people in the U.S. being actively monitored for Ebola. It ain't over, folks. We're just covering it up. Top citizen confrontations with power elite. Powerful video up on Infowars.com. More on Hillary Clinton. Off-duty cop arrested for shooting woman during road rage. And that ties into this Eric Garner chokehold death. Father of 6, hardworking, great guy. Had his hands up when the cops murdered him, and they should be, not just the one cop, but the others for aiding and abetting manslaughter. It's manslaughter, plain and simple. Indict them. But notice they got that all scheduled to be announced there tomorrow to start more riots. And I'm sorry, cops murdering somebody doesn't mean you get to go attack people at Papa John's or kill white people with hammers. And so instead of defending criminals that use that as a cover, everybody should decry both the police and other crazy thugs. And I'm not saying all police are crazy thugs. The point is, those cops, no ifs, ands, or buts, you watch it, they murdered him as he begged for his life. It makes you want to throw up. Infowars.com, Obama official meets with the Chinese internet censorship czar and says they need to work together in, quote, cooperation. I mean, it's coming. Just like Google and Microsoft and all of them work with the Chi-Coms on censoring their people, they'll do it here. Top video confrontations between citizens and politicians. NATO and Russia move closer to war. Kurt Nimmo. Rand Paul. John McCain wants 15 more wars. Ferguson business owners ask Oath Keepers to protect them from violent Michael Brown supporters, but the police continue to say no. There is no law, but you will not protect your property. And you can't blame the average cop. This is what the politicians, the Justice Department is running things. You need to kick them out. Teacher teaches Michael Brown test, brainwashing process. Owner of Delwood Market in Ferguson says, I won't rebuild. I'm too old. I'm planning to get out. Rand Paul goes on in video to say Obama can't defend the indefensible. We're going to play that. Before I go any further, ladies and gentlemen, we are running specials right now that will end this Saturday on free shipping store-wide, and this helps fund our operation as well, on all the great pro-liberty, Molon Labe, you name it, T-shirts, belt buckles, videos, books, everything. InfoWarsStore.com. Free shipping at InfoWarsLife.com. On Survival Shield X2 Nascent Iodine. On Silver Bullet, Super Colloidal Silver, and so much more. Free shipping and 20% off colloidal silver. And if you get 4 bottles, get the 5th free on top of free shipping and 20% off. Great way to stock up. Also makes great Christmas gifts. Buy 1 bottle of DNA Force, get 2 bottles of Survival Shield Classic free. $60 value. 30% off Super Male and Super Female Vitality. A giant savings. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139. And again, I cannot stress enough, we are funded by you. That's how I'm able to hire reporters, make films, have nightly news, reach 18 million people a week right now on average. About 8-9 million of those are our regular listeners, but we reach another 8-9 million or so just that come through. And we can't gauge how often they come back, but that's why I go down the street now. Everybody knows who I am wherever I go. I mean, literally, people stop at red lights everywhere. I just can't. And I'm not bragging. It's an indicator of how many people are awake and upset. And let me tell you, they're every color, they're every race, they're every age, they're every creed. That makes me so happy. That upsets the globalist. So keep supporting us, keep spreading the word. That's most important. And support our local affiliates. John Bound put together a 9-minute report for InfoWars Nightly News. And it's now up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. The headline is, The Race War is a Trap. And I'm going to have this tweeted out right now at Real Alex Jones on Twitter. I'm going to play about 5 minutes of it. We're going to go to break, come back with Phyllis Schalfly. But this is a very important video. Stay with us. Then we're going to break down the high treason of open borders and what Obama's doing.